Hi, this is Adrian with Powercode, and on today's training, we're going to go into Powercode's inventory system. So from anywhere on that dark gray navigation bar at the top, click on Inventory. Now it's important to keep in mind that within Powercode, the inventory system, while still integrated with the rest of the software, really should be treated as its own independent, almost third-party software. We, of course, developed and designed everything ourselves, but how it interacts with the rest of Powercode is a little bit different, and that's very specifically by design. We'll hit on that a little bit more later. So to begin with, start right up here on your Manage Inventory tab, and make sure you go ahead and set the manufacturers you plan on using, any of the vendors you have, types of equipment. This is all really easily done by just clicking in here, hitting Add. Your stock locations, you really should only have one stock location unless you truly keep your stock in separate places. So if you have one stock room everyone pulls from, leave it there. If you maybe have a warehouse off-site or two different locations people can refill from, then make sure you add both of those. We then have the different statuses on here. These are customizable. You can delete these, add, change however you want, as well as the conditions. And there might be some reasons why you actually handle these differently than how it's set up, and that's completely fine. You have that flexibility here. Once everything is in there, you then go to your admin settings and make sure you put in the email address of the individual responsible for ordering the items and making sure you have all of your inventory, all of your stock on hand. You're going to go to your products, and this is where you actually build out your catalog of what you're bringing into the system, so to speak. So if we look at Create a Product, you're going to call the product whatever you'd like. You decide whether it's consumable or not, basically whether or not you want to be tracking a serial number or a MAC. We'll look at that in a second as well. The model, UPC, manufacturer, which vendor you get it from, price, and then that minimum stock level. That minimum stock level is critical. And what that allows you to do is for each type of equipment we have in here, you can decide how many you need to have on hand before that email gets triggered and sent off. So that way, as you pull from stock, let's say in this case it's 20 items, when that 20th item is actually moved from stock to an individual or a different location, that email trigger will go. So from there, you can go ahead and add items to inventory. We do that by clicking on Add Items. Brings up another little box here. We can choose whatever item we want. We'll go ahead and add this power beam. Call this a PB5. From there, you're going to be receiving this inventory into stock. It'll probably be on hand, and it should be new. You can also go in and set the cost that you got it at, and then any notes you want on here. You can put PO number on here if you'd like, or whatever else is relevant. This is a free field for you. From there, you can go ahead and add the MAC and serial number. A lot of our customers only do the MAC, and that's really what you need within Powercode. You don't have to have the serial number unless you'd like it there. But if you're bringing in a lot of items at once, we recommend you hit this little bulk mode button here. The lock turns it on, and then you can lock down all the fields that are going to be the same for all the items. So if you just got in 20 of these power beams here, and I know that they print the MAC and serial on a sticker on the outside of the carton, so you don't even have to break it down. And you can snag a $15 barcode scanner on Amazon and just click in here, beep enter, and you can just quickly get them all into the system. From there, if for some reason you need to move them, you can use this mass move inventory button here, where you can go and look at the location. And then for whatever reason you need to get a bunch all in one place, you can hit down Control, find the max, and then you say these are all going to go to this individual. They have a lot of installs today. And then just go all the way through, move them from one side to the other, and then hit apply. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this for this example. Now once it's in inventory, most of our customers have a process where they require their technicians to have a set amount of each type of radio or item on hand. So what happens is either at the end of the day or first thing in the morning, the employee goes down here, they can tap right in here, search for whatever MAC they're looking for. You can also sort like that. And we're going to pull this piece of item from stock right here by hitting this pencil button. Brings over all the information we need. We're going to go ahead and put it in Paul's truck. And we're going to take it out of the hand and put this in processing, and then hit save. And that's now been pulled from the stockroom onto his responsibility, and again, kicks an email if you get under that minimum threshold. From there, you can also go and look at who has what. So you can go and search for Paul here. And at this point, we should be able to walk up to his truck, and each of these items should be on his truck, and only each of these items, no more, no less. Really keep track of what's happening with your inventory there. After the fact, if it comes time to bring one of those back in, either you're swapping it out for a different technology, maybe it's busted, there's something wrong with it, you can just find a piece of equipment. You can click here to create an RMA and keep track of those, or just flow it backwards, where you go from the customer back to the individual, and then it's on his truck for a while until he brings it downstairs. And maybe you have a testing process, so maybe one of these needs to be damaged. Maybe you have a condition that's in testing, or maybe a status. Oh, there it is, status that's testing, and that's sitting there until it gets tested and then put back into service, in which case you can use a used or refurbished, depending on how you want to flow that. Lastly, we should look at the consumables. They work very similarly, but again, we don't really care for these lag bolts or zip ties or screws or whatever else you want to keep track of that you make sure you don't run out of. We only care about the quantity of them. So you add a consumable, nice and easy right there, and then pull a box off the shelf. All you do is you come in here, you hit that minus, you're taking one box of bolts, hit OK, and you're off to the races. Now to make sure we have a good grasp of this, let's take a look at how inventory looks on a customer's account. Now this is where some of the wording can be a little bit misleading. We have our equipment down here. Now our equipment in this tab refers to the actual physical pieces of hardware that are necessary for authentication and delivery of the internet. So if you have your radios in router mode, that's only going to be your downlink radio. If it's bridged, it's going to be your radio and then the router behind it. And that's what we have in this situation here. We have a wireless router and your radio here. So if we go up, this tab here on the customer view, again, this is different than the top level tab, a small gray one, it says inventory. This actually shows equipment and inventory. Now, earlier I mentioned that it's important to think of these as separate systems. This is why. You can have this equipment up here without having it in assigned inventory. That's very important because some of our customers choose not to maintain inventory, so they're not locked into that. Also, there's a lot of different things you can do by stacking different types of equipment on here. And in this scenario, that router looks like it's the customer's router. It's not even something we would inventory, and it would mess up our system if it was. Conversely, you can also have inventory that's not necessarily authenticating equipment. A great example for that would be if you sell Rokus, or even down to power supplies or power strips. If you want to keep track of them and make sure you're actually getting paid for them, then that's a good thing to keep track of down here as well. So that does it for the inventory portion of Powercode. If you have any questions, make sure you email support@powercode.com or give us a call at 920-351-1010. Thanks so much.